Welcome back. Nice to have you back. I gather that you lost pictures, images, commentary, just about everything a moment ago. It sounds as though there's a pretty nasty storm over our headquarters in Paris. But there are 10 kilometers to go, and it's still the same situation. Everything together in the peloton on our way on stage 2 into Setermoen. .5 Ks to go. Yam cycling on the left-hand side. All 6 riders lined up, ready and waiting. Again, Colt Energy with a couple of riders to the fore, just wanting to try and keep their position in the peloton. Yam cycling at the front just behind them. Top Sport with a few riders there too. And Lampre all waiting for this climb to be over, it seems, Matt.
They certainly are. Just setting a rhythm. Nobody just looking at the composition there. People pretty happy really to let Yam do the work. They're clearly nailing their nailing their colours to the mast today. Interesting though, it was Martin Elmiger who actually finished just a couple of places ahead of his teammate, who's the protected sprinter, Sondre Holst-Enger. Look out for him. But definitely the finish today will suit that sprinter rather than Elmiger. As we said, Elmiger more suited to the harder uphill finishes. Both on very, very good form. They have brought a solid squad along with them. Matthias Frank, Steph Clement, Elmiger Enger, and Permin Lang and Marcel Vist. That's a very, very experienced and strong team. Well,
Frank is going to be one to watch tomorrow. Stage 3, GC day in inverted commas, although stage 4 could be interesting as well if it's very tight. There's bonus seconds. There are a few circuits of a very, very tough course around Narvik. Little climbs in there as well. Inut Zakarin to the front on the right-hand side, another man to watch tomorrow. For the moment, though, he has a job to do for Katusha. We've seen Sergei Lagotin riding on the front for the most of the day again. Zakarin there now. Behind him will be Sven-Erik Bystrom, Norwegian rider. Then Marco Haller, the Austrian champion, who was so excellent yesterday for Alexander Kristoff. He'll be the man in blue. First sighting him for us a while. Very, very, very nervy touch of wheels there.
Sorry, I nearly you heard a sharp intake of breath by me there. That was the riders from Team Sparbanken, the domestic-based Norwegian squad in the orange and black kit. Just almost like a touch of wheels. You just saw Katusha just lining up behind them. Thankfully, that ripple effect didn't cause a crash, but that was a little bit close. Hence me almost coming to grief on my seat here.
Gerhard Ziolek on the left-hand side in the black and white striped NTN Quebecer jersey, just on the wheel of the race leader. On the right-hand side, the man in the salmon jersey today, Vigard Starkelingen, rider for Team Joker, back in domestique duty today. On the left-hand side, a couple of riders from Team Fixit there in the black and yellow jerseys. And the very familiar, certainly to watchers of spring racing, jerseys of the Belgian team, the professional continental team from Flanders, Top Sport Vlaanderen Baloise.
Yeah, they're good finishes. Watch out for Amaury Capio. He's currently lying 7th at the moment. He sprinted very well, as did Giles Salamier. But again, he's not really a noted sprinter, more a man perhaps for the overall for the Top Sport team. But again, they always are aggressive in these races. And I think another outside bet for the sprint finish today. We've not seen them too much at the front. And that's Tinkoff Saxo sprinter, Michael Morkov. Former Danish road champion, took out a sensational stage a couple of years back in the Vuelta Hispana. But watch out for him, he's on good form. Won the final stage of the Tour of Denmark just a couple of weeks back, but laying low at the moment, but it could be a bit of a surprise package.
How do you rate Edvald Boasson-Hagen's chances today? Perhaps yesterday might have been more of a day for him with a tougher finish. He's there today. I would say, though, we've had 2 riders from his team climb off. Janssen van Rensburg didn't start today. Theo Bos did not finish today. He's only got one man next to him now. That's Gerhard Ziolek.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously still got Jed Ulis there and Louis Minkes, but when you look at both of those 2 riders, very young, they're not really the riders who you'd expect to, do the lead out at all. So it's just going to be left to Gerhard Ziolek. I think we'll see Boasson-Hagen and Ziolek, surfing the wheels on the run and using the other teams, and they are both very experienced and apt at doing that. But I think the drop-off man for Edvald Boasson-Hagen will be Ziolek.
I'm glad you mentioned Julius. There he was in that Viking jersey coming to the front of the peloton, as we've got a band playing on water today.
We had them at the top of a mountain yesterday, and there they are. It's great, isn't it? It's great to see. I'm glad we've seen that.
Bike helmets on as well. I'm not sure quite what they're sheltering from, but
safety first.
Brilliant to see. 6.3 kilometres to go. And Giant Alpecin appear for the first time today. Ramon Sinkeldam at the back of their train. Fredrik Ludvigsson on the right-hand side, Swedish rider. Very highly rated Swedish rider.
And they've got Lars van der Haar in their number as well, the cyclocross specialist. To watch out for him. He's not a rider we see very often on the road at all. So Lars van der Haar, runner for Giant Alpecin in the black kit, number 105. But yeah, I think without a doubt, the sprinter they'll be looking after today will be Ramon Sinkeldam.
Bora Argon 18 showing their faces as well as Marco Haller comes to the front to do his job. There's Christoph in the blue jersey on the left-hand side. Katusha with every single one of the 5 riders present at this race on the front of the peloton at the minute. Remember, Bora Argon 18 riding for the man in the white on the left-hand side. That's the Irish rider, Sam Bennett, who sprinted fantastically well up the hill yesterday to a 3rd place.
Yeah, it was a great ride by the young Irishman. He, as we said, he had a difficult Tour de France and struggled a bit, but when you bear in mind that's all in his legs. Sometimes you can have a nightmare of a time in a long stage race, but if you get through it healthy, you rest up and recuperate, the amount of condition that can come through and that can give you in the later weeks is worth so much. And clearly Bennett back in superb form at the moment.
Cofidis in their red jerseys to the front as well. They have Turgis, who finished very well yesterday. Van Steyr was up there as well in 5th place. Adrien Petit. So they've got a fast team with Jonas Alstrand involved as well. 5Ks to go, and the sprint teams getting ready to do their thing on the front as we head into the end of stage 2 of the Arctic race of Norway. The 3rd edition of this race, travelling today from Evonskjer to Settermoen, 162.5 kilometres, with Ilnur Zakarin, the winner overall of the Tour de Romandie, on the front for the race leader from the Katusha team, who is Alexander Kristoff. Big favourite again today. Edvald Boasson Hagen in the green jersey as well. Look out for him, who was 2nd yesterday. Sander Holst Enger's up there, as is Sam Bennett. Brian Kokau is here, wasn't there yesterday. How are his team going to prepare it for him today? There's Pierre Kemener of Europcar right at the back of the race. He's not going to be involved. Jaheni Hurtarevic is here. We've seen Daniele Rato towards the front as well for United Healthcare. Ramon Sinkeldam, and then the lamp preparing of Cimolai and Bonifacio. One of the Italians surely going to be close as we go for the line.
You'd have thought so, but still Zakarin, I mean, he's almost like, would it be fair to say he's almost the Russian version stylistically of Chris Froome?
Definitely.
Especially when he looks down, but so strong. Yeah, it's an interesting look on a bike. But what a sensational year he's had, as well as the win in over at the Romandie, of course, won that stage in the Giro d'Italia as well. So a very good year. But again, happy to sit on the front.
Now here we go, into the military base. This is the biggest employer in the town. 3,000 inhabitants, a 1/3 of the population are in the Norwegian army. Into Settermoen, and this is where we finished today. Cofidis on the front. Jonas Alstrand doing a big job for them today.
Look at the face there of the rider from Cofidis, just swinging off before Zakarin takes over again.
And Cofidis already have a win today too. Norwegian soldiers protecting the entrance of the peloton into this military base, cheering them along as well.
That's something you don't see very often, is it? Tanks either side of the road.
3 kilometres to go.
Pace really being picked up now. Even though Katusha have 1 rider less, they're still remarkably strong. Some riders really struggling at the back end of the field. That's not where you want to be at all. But an interesting crowd.
Well, with the army on the side of the road, you have the various platoons at the front trying to do their thing for the sprinters who are about to go into battle. 2.5 kilometres remain. It's still Ilnur Zakarin. It is still Katusha, who have their 1 win already from 1 stage this week, and they have the race lead, which they will be wanting to keep. Edvald Boasson Hagen in the green there can take the leader's jersey today. Remember, Alexander Kristoff just 2 seconds in front. Zakarin's turn is done, pardon me, Matt.
No. Zakarin to put about a kilometre on the front. You can just see Sam Bennett just in the white jersey on the right-hand side. Behind him, he's got a couple of Europcar riders in the green. And watch out for the green-clad Brian Kokau, 2nd on the Champs-Élysées this year. In good form, still looking for a sponsor next year.
2.2 kilometres remain. It's Bora Argon 18 with 5 riders in front of Sam Bennett. Still Gerald Ciolek hangs on, looking after his sprinters. Skabo Gromai is alongside the man from MTN Quebec, who is Louis Meintjes.
As Paul Voss just on the front there. He's got Zach Dempster on his wheel, really drawing this along. They've got a lot of faith in the young Irishman, Sam Bennett. And Vossi, 5th overall last year, not afraid as a tank runs alongside the peloton.
Well, again, the Norwegian military showing off now.
Definitely something I've not seen before.
2 kilometres to go. The Arctic race of Norway, putting on a show on the side of the roads wherever we may be in this beautiful, beautiful country. Bora Argon 18 still there. 1.5 kilometres remain. Sam Bennett perfectly placed as the land preparing of both Cimolai and Bonifacio come up to the front. Also there for Yam Cycling. A little bit of a shoulder bump there as Sander Holstenger makes his way towards the front. Left-hand side, still Gerald Ciolek protecting his main man, who is Edvald Boasson Hagen. Bennett there in the white, the best young rider today. The Irishman, as we approach the final kilometre, it's still there looking very, very good for Alexander Kristoff, who has 2 men in front of him. Yeah,
Alexander Kristoff has got Sven-Erik Byström on his wheel. Is Marco Haller, the Austrian road champion, just on the left-hand side in the white jersey with the red hoops. As we go onto the kite, Bora Argon 18 who take them under.
And it's Katusha who bring their leader right back to the front of the peloton as if on cue. As soon as they went onto that 1 kilometre to go banner, there's lots of bits of orgy-borgy already, a few shoulder bumps. Everybody, well, we want them to stay upright in the final kilometre. It is still Giant Alpecin with no real organisation on the left-hand side. That's Sinkeldam, who was in or there or thereabouts. Still Alexander Kristoff with Marco Haller right in front of him. It looks as though they're going to take their cue from Bora Argon 18 as the man looking like he's going to sprint for Lampre is Niccolò Bonifacio. Bonifacio is there as Tinkoff Saxo come up to the front on the left-hand side. Ralf Matschka is there ready and waiting as well. So final 300 metres, it's the second stage of the Arctic race of Norway as Alexander Kristoff waits for the moment. It's every man for themselves though through the middle as Edvald Boasson Hagen is getting boxed out on the right hand side. Kristoff is on the left, but I'm not sure he's going to get it. He's got to come around a lot of riders to do it. Straight through the middle is Sam Bennett. It is Sam Bennett, the Irishman, who does it for Bora Argon 18. Not quite prepared, the big boys. They could not hit the front. Bora Argon 18 took control from 3 kilometres to go, did the job perfectly, and Sam Bennett was there to finish it off brilliantly.
What a superb win by Sam Bennett here. He came from the middle of the melee, almost from nowhere. We hardly name-checked him, but left it very, very late to come through the vacuum of the bunch by taking it by a couple of lengths. Fantastic stuff.
Wonderful stuff from Sam Bennett. Brilliant organisation by Bora Argon 18. And right in the middle of an army base, it was a leader that was pulled out in almost military fashion. Alexander Kristoff couldn't quite manage to hit the front. Edvald Boasson Hagen was boxed out on one side. It was every man for themselves in the middle, but Bora stayed true. They stayed on that centre line all the way through, and we hardly saw him towards the end. Perfect lead out for Sam Bennett. He hit the front and won with pretty much big ease. Zurlo, the man in second place. Kristoff gaining towards the end, not gaining enough though. He finishes third, and I think that the bonus seconds will be enough to see him keep the race lead as well. So a victory for Bennett on the day, and the race lead stays with Alexander Kristoff.
That was I wouldn't say it was a scrappy sprint, but there were so many riders in contention until very, very late. But some really remarkably adept timing there by this man in the white jersey. Best young rider, and obviously he'll get the time bonus there, 10 seconds. Interesting to see how the overall classification looks. There's the slow motion replay again. It's Breton Sèche Environnement just on the front, but a very, very big quick turn of speed there from Federico Zurlo of United Healthcare. But there's Bennett coming through. Kristoff leaving it very late. Bennett takes it by a length and a half.
Top stuff from Sam Bennett. Mikael Kolar was the man sprinting for Tinkoff Saxo in there, and I was doing Bennett a disservice. Lead-out man peeled off a little earlier than we thought. It was Kolar, the man who was in front of him, and Bennett now, with that win, is up to second place overall. Michael van Staayen in third, 11 seconds. The leader remains Alexander Kristoff, and from Evenskier to Zettermoen, it was pretty pedestrian for most of the day. Certainly exciting in that last few hundred metres. Bennett with the win, a huge one for the Irishman, and a big, big scalp too for Bora Argon 18. Sam Bennett winning by a whole bike length.
It was actually Dan McClay, the rider from Breton-Sèche-Vermont, but looking at that photo finish just behind Kolar, finishing in 5th place. So good ride by the Brit there. Led out, went very, very long. And there's Paul Voss giving Sam Bennett a big hug. It means so much, especially when riders, you know, given so much.
Can you describe this final sprint?
Yeah, the guys did an absolutely amazing job today. In the end, it was a little bit of a downhill before it kicked back up, and we got swamped, and I completely lost the wheel, and I was in such a bad position. And I want to apologise to the guy for that, because it's my job to hold our wheel, because they did an absolutely fantastic job. I was lucky coming in the final. I just kept sprinting and going through gaps, and in the end the doors just opened at the right time, and I was just about able to take it.
How does it feel to beat Christoph at home?
Yeah, it feels good. Just winning regardless feels good, and I'm absolutely delighted.
How important is it in your season after the Tour de France to be winning here?
Yeah, it's really important, and I think as a sprinter, if you want to be a good sprinter, you need to be able to get results when you're not feeling good, and all through the season. And I had terrible legs in the final today, or in the race today, and was with the support of the team, I was still able to get results, and I think that's really important.
What do you feel about cycling in Norway?
Sam Bennett then taking the win, and a brilliant win it was. Win number 8 of his career, the 4th of the season. Watch him keep the wheels, watch the wheels, find the gap, come straight through the middle. It opened up beautifully for him. He took that chance. A brilliant win from Sam Bennett, who we hardly saw until the final 50 to 100 metres.
It was a fantastic sprint. He's obviously in the right position, but the way the door opened, Dan McClay went very long from about 250. As I said, a great ride by McClay. McClay eased to the left slightly, opening the door. Bennett didn't even really have to change his line, didn't have to deviate or flick round anybody. The door opened, and then obviously he hit the wind and had that momentum from riding in the vacuum for so long. I think he only hit the front with about 100 metres to go, but with the turn of speed that this young Irishman has, you know, there was no stopping him at all. And Christoph did leave it very late. I don't think he was in the greatest position on the right-hand side there, but fair play to Bennett. That's his 4th win of the year now. Took a couple of stages of the Beyond Rundfahrt a few months back, and then a stage of the Tour of Qatar. So again, you know, some pretty good sprinters here, so he'll be very, very happy with that.
Sam Bennett, the winner ahead of Federico Zurlo. Bennett beating Zurlo, Christoph, Kolar and McClay, with Hertz, Kamyshev, Van Steyen, Sander Holstenger and Landa all in the top 10. A win for the Irish then, and a win for his German team. Bennett the victor, Bora Argon 18, picking up their first win this week at the Arctic race of Norway.
Some real good turns on the front in the final couple of kilometres, especially from Paul Voss. There's one point where Zach Dempster actually swung off because he couldn't hold the pace that Paul Voss was putting up. There was a bit of a drag before it dropped down into the finish. Here's the final kilometre. This is when Paul Voss swings off, and this is when you've got the lead-out train of Katusha. It's Sven-Erik Bistrom just on the front on the left-hand side. On his wheel is the Austrian champion, Marco Haller. And then it's the team of Giant Alpecin who go to the front. But if you look at Bennett here, he's right in the centre of the screen, about 10 or 15th back. But again, in terms of not cutting into the win, that's the ideal place to be. Still Bora Argon 18 on the front. Then you've got the riders from Lamprey just moving up on the right-hand side. Bennett still in the middle there. And this is when we saw a bit of a surprise move by Tinkoff Saxo, opening things up very, very early indeed. Bennett still in about 15th wheel, but just hovering there. He's got no lead out at all now. He's having to do this freestyle, as it were, surfing the wheels. But look at in the centre, he's riding right on that orange line. There's a gap in the middle of the bunch that opens up. Bennett rides through that gap, just past Marco Haller, and there, right in the centre. Has to check a little bit there, loses a bit of speed, and as the door opens, that surge of speed in the last 100 metres, there's nothing anybody could do about it.
Well, he takes the wheel of Michael van Steyen and follows him right up through there, the man from Cofidis. Disappointment for Christoph. And with Christoph and Boston Hagen, it was strange because we saw their teams riding on the front all day long. They just had really bad positions going into the final 500 metres, both of them.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Sometimes it doesn't work out despite your best efforts.
Sam Bennett wins stage 2 of the Arctic race of Norway then. Alexander Kristoff should keep the overall. And that is a huge win in the career of Sam Bennett. It's been a fantastic year for him. Win number 4, it's shown that he can bounce back after illness and a very, very hard Tour de France, where he said he learned how to suffer. He certainly had to suffer through these first couple of days here today, and I think that learning experience helped him not to panic, perhaps, in that last kilometre there.
Well, definitely, he kept a very cool head. You know, he in the last 800 metres, he had nobody to lead him out, so he basically had to find his own path through the centre of quite a chaotic and difficult maelstrom of a sprint. But as I say, kept his line, kept right in the centre, so he wasn't in the wind, so there was, you know, the best place to be in terms of minimal effort is shielded either side and in the front, and it was only very late when the door opened up. But look at him now, you know, he's at the bottom of your screen in the white jersey. You know, he's 10 or 15 metres behind the riders in front, but kept his cool. Just drifts up in the centre here, but clearly he's got some fantastic form off the back of the Tour de France. He lasted for 16 days, unfortunately had to pull out on stage 17, and this is the point there where he just goes past a very frustrated Italian, banging his handlebars. That's a big result for the Italian. It would have been a big result, still a very fine second place for him, Zurlo. But interesting, just looking back at the results of Federico Zurlo, 7th place in Paris-Roubaix back in 2012, but hasn't had that many results, and I think until the last few metres thought he'd got another win in the bag, hence that, you know, that outburst of frustration, because that would have been a big win. Wasn't to be, but still a fine ride by him.
Just looking at that final 500 metres again, struck Matt by how poorly organised a lot of the lead-outs were. You can see 3 Cofidis riders all over the place there. You've got Van Stijn and several other riders there. Something that we can think about perhaps overnight and look towards tomorrow. Alexander Kristoff leads by 7 seconds ahead of Sam Bennett. Van Stijn 11 behind. Sander Holstenger in 11th as well, with heads behind. And looking at all those numbers, I'm pretty sure that is very much provisional and not final.
Yeah, I think the first 3 or 4 might be okay. The rest are subject to confirmation. Let's put it that way. Certainly aren't those big time gaps just yet.
Yeah, let's ignore that one. And just to expand on that point, there looked to be a lot of poor organisation between Lampre, between Cofidis, even, dare you say it as well, I mean, NTN Quebec, it's hard to call them because they only had one man looking after Edvald Boasson-Hagen, but even Katusha got it so right yesterday, a little all over the place there, on an easier finish. I think
first off, you know, MTN are down to 4 riders. Kristoff only, Katusha, sorry, only have 5 riders, and then we saw Zakharin, he was spent with about 2 or 3 kilometres to go, so he was gone. And so Kristoff only had 2 other riders, so there's no real lead-out trains. I mean, we constantly compare the smaller stage races to the Grand Tours. The lead-outs are so much different. They're generally faster because the numbers that teams have at the front at their disposal. The lead-outs in Grand Tour stage are generally far more clinical. This was a bit scrappier because of the smaller numbers.